I'm going to show you guys how AI is revolutionizing keyword research in this video. Now, I have a lot of opinions on this because I think this is probably one of the most interesting changes that AI has brought to SEO. Let's get into it. So you might know of a certain tool called Ask Socrates. Now, this is something, it's called Answer Socrates. This is something that I've used in the past, right? So basically what I used this for was when I set up Tiny Home Hub, right? What you can do is you can write a niche in this tool. So we'll just put this as United States. Oops. And we'll set this to English. And I'm just going to write tiny home, right? What this tool does is it generates things like questions. It generates things, basically questions, answers. Siri, bad Siri.
That's not nice.
So Socrates, Answer Socrates, not you, mate, generates questions, okay? So for example, where is Tiny Home Village located? Where are tiny home communities? Where are tiny homes legal in the US? Should I buy a tiny home? How much are tiny homes in Texas? All of these different types of questions, okay? But AI has completely changed this because instead of doing this old process of finding questions related to a topic, what we can do instead is we can use something like this topical authority generator, which I created on ChatGPT, and I can say my niche is tiny homes in the United States. And what this is going to do is it's going to produce pretty much the same thing, but just using AI, okay? So it's going to create my pillar pages, and then at the very top of your website, you would want to create like a header at the top of your website, and then you would have like tiny home design. And I've done this before, literally, I did exactly this process and it worked really well. Tiny home legal, okay, etc., right, in your header. And all this is doing is it's doing that process for you. So you might have noticed before, this is about whether, it's legal in Texas. Now we have tiny home zoning laws and regulations, state-by-state guide to zoning regulations and permits for tiny homes in the US. So that's exactly the same thing, but using AI. And for me, what I call this personally, I call this logical SEO. And this helps you build topical authority on any website. So if you simply nail each of these topics one by one, okay, and these are just the pillar pages, you will rank on Google. Now, this is super interesting. The fact that THOW appears. I remember doing research into tiny homes and I came up with this, but like the research that I did took a very long time. It took me maybe 4 or 5 days. AI has completely changed this because it's made it like that. It's made it super simple. Once you've got the pillar pages, you can now generate the sub-pillar pages. So I'm just going to say now give me the sub-pillar pages. So you've created your header, you've got each of your pillar pages, and then on your pillar pages, you're then going to do individual sub-pillar pages, right? So we've got tiny home design ideas. Now we've got modern tiny home designs, rustic, Scandinavian, farmhouse, minimalist, multi-level, tiny home kitchen design ideas, lofted tiny homes, container tiny home designs, etc., etc. And then we have zoning laws by state, right? So you do each state one by one. Tiny RV classification laws for tiny homes, tiny home building codes, tiny home legal restrictions in rural areas, tiny homes in California, Texas, Florida, that you just logically then do all of the states. Fire safety laws, alternative dwelling unit. These are all things that came up in my very long research of tiny homes, okay? And then tiny home builders, that was also another very popular one and something that you could get pretty sweet affiliate commission from or advertising. If you're ranking for tiny home builders in California, you can then sell that advertising space to a tiny home builder, right? So you then make all of these pages, and then that's how you start to generate topical authority. Now, Harbor, it actually has this built into it. The researcher is very similar to this process here, except it's been split into two different things. The topic scaler is what I just showed you. So if I just find tiny home, if I find just a tiny home website, I don't know, tinyhomes.ie, sure, why not? And then all I need is their sitemap. I'm just using them as an example because Tiny Home Hub died. I didn't renew the domain, basically. Let's see if I can find their sitemap real quick. There we go. Classic, it's a WordPress website. I love it. So we can actually just do the same process right here with Harbor, okay? So I recommend at the beginning of any website to do this process because you need to cover these topics. You need to make sure that you are covering a wide range of pillar pages. So this is the first thing you should do for any website. You should use Harbor or the completely free Topical Authority Generator, just depending on what you want to use, to make the initial part of your website. However, the thing that Harbor does slightly differently is it also has the site seeker. What the site seeker does is it's not the same thing as the topic scaler. The topic scaler is what any website in that niche should have on their website. So once you've done that, once you've got that base and you've made that really, really strong, that's when you should use the site seeker. What the site seeker does is it takes your specific website and generates ideas for pages, ideas for blog posts. It gives you a lot of ideas at once. However, this is all the same kind of thing. All we're doing is using logical SEO to create content ideas for your website. So we have here Irish compact home design, compact home building materials, so sustainable insulation materials for compact homes, etc., etc. So it's the same thing as I just showed you before. Irish planning regulations, but if you see the key difference here is that it's Irish, right? Because this website is .ie. They're talking about Ireland. So this is kind of what Harbor does a little bit better than maybe the topic authority generator, is it does it specifically for your website, right? So this is about Irish. So if you weren't familiar with this process and you only used the topical authority generator and you just put tiny homes, it will not give it specific to your country. It will 99% of the time just use America, right? Because that's just how it is. Like America is it's kind of the most popular country to write about on the internet. So what this has done is it's done exactly the same process, but specific to your website, specific to the website that you're working on, right? Energy efficiency in compact homes, financing Irish compact home construction. Amazing. And then you can run this again and it'll do the same thing, but it won't be repeated. It'll be different suggestions. And then here we've got some very, very cool and interesting specific content ideas for your website. Again, this is all using AI. Harbor is an AI keyword research tool. It's not just a content generator. And it will also be an AI link building tool very, very soon as well. So the science behind our 214 mm thick walls, insulation and energy efficiency, luxury in small spaces, high-end tiny home interiors, top 10 tiny home designs for unforgettable Airbnb experiences. So something that's really cool here is you could actually do an affiliate thing to Airbnb as well, where you get money if someone books through your system. You always have to be constantly thinking about how you can monetize these articles. 5 best tiny home designs for easy planning permission approval. That's a really good keyword. Cost comparison, building a tiny home versus buying a traditional house in Ireland. So these are the two core concepts of AI keyword research. There's logical keyword research, but there's also the specific AI keyword research, which is really based on your business and what you're selling. So like I said before, this is an Irish tiny home website, and one of the keywords it's come up with is cost comparison, building a tiny home versus buying a traditional house in Ireland. Now you might think no one's going to search for that. What's the keyword here? The keyword is something like tiny home versus traditional house, right? You need to think of it like that. You can't think of it as this being the entire keyword. So again, we've got different ones here. Like I said before, we've got just completely different topic scaler suggestions. This is now the best way to build a website. It's no longer based on Ahrefs, data-driven keyword research. It's all now AI-based logical keyword research. I hope that video was useful, guys. Please check out Harbor. We currently have a deal where you can get yearly with the 33% extra discount. And with that, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching all the way to the end, you're an absolute legend. and I'll see you very, very soon with some more content. Peace out. You're going to want to watch this video if you have recently had a huge spike in traffic and you want to see the actual growth of your website without that anomaly.